Let's talk about Zoya Akhtar's segment from Ghost Stories. Because in her version of horror, the scary part isn't what's hiding in the shadows. Nope, it's about what's staring right back at you from the mirror. Today, we're going to break down how this film turns the whole ghost story genre on its head to tell this quietly terrifying tale about a fate that might just be worse than death.
See, this film isn't really interested in what's lurking in the dark. It's about something much, much closer to home. It asks this one chilling question. What if the most terrifying presence you could ever possibly encounter
was a glimpse of who you might become? You know, if you just let your life grind to a halt? And that is the chilling idea at the heart of this. This isn't your typical supernatural horror. This is the horror of the psyche.
So how in the world does Akhtar pull this off? Let's unpack how she completely redefines the genre, creating a ghost story where the haunting is all in your head.
First things first, forget jump scares. That's not what this is about, at all. This film is all about this slow, creeping atmospheric dread. The horror is the gradual, awful realization that a life is just being wasted, that all that potential of youth is being swapped for the exact same loneliness that defines old age.
The setup itself is actually pretty simple. You've got Samira, a young nurse, and her patient, Mrs. Melek, and they're both pretty much stuck in this one location. But the apartment itself, wow, it feels like a character. It's claustrophobic and decaying, a perfect mirror for the two women inside, who are both haunted by this deep, profound sense of being forgotten.
And this shared feeling of neglect, it traps both of them in the film's central state of being, the absolutely paralyzing act of just waiting. So the apartment isn't just a setting, it's basically a purgatory. It's this waiting room where time has effectively just stopped. I mean, the dust, the heavy curtains, it all creates this suffocating feeling that neither Samira nor Mrs. Malek is actually living. They're just kind of suspended. And this is where you see the really tragic parallel. Samira, right? She's young, she can move around, but she's emotionally paralyzed, just waiting for her married lover to give her life some meaning. Meanwhile, Mrs. Malek is physically paralyzed, waiting for a son who never, ever visits. They are perfect, haunting mirror images of each other, trapped in the exact same state of passive waiting.
So how does the film really lock in this connection between these two women from totally different generations? Well, it all comes down to one single really important object.
And that object is a vintage brooch. Now, this is way more than just a prop. It's what you might call a narrative anchor. It's the one thing that manages to cut through Mrs. Malek's dementia and forge this real bond with Samira, bridging that huge gap between their ages and their lives.
And this one little object holds two totally different yet deeply connected meanings. For Mrs. Malek, it's a relic, a tether to a time when she was seen, when she was valued. For Samira, it's this fragile act of hope, a way to feel beautiful for a man who basically treats her like an afterthought. It represents this shared inheritance of vanity, sure, but also incredible vulnerability.
So really, that small piece of jewelry becomes the bridge. It connects Samira's potential, her blooming youth, directly to Mrs. Malek's reality, which is this withered, forgotten existence. It's a really powerful and poignant piece of symbolism when you think about it.
And it's this connection that leads right to the film's climax, a moment that, trust me, is far more chilling than any monster could ever be.
The film just keeps building this quiet, atmospheric dread, and you're sitting there waiting for the big jump scare, but it never comes. Instead, the most terrifying moment in the whole story is delivered in a single, quiet line of advice.
And there it is. That's the line. When Mrs. Malek says this, the whole film just transforms. It's not a ghost story anymore. It's a full-blown psychological tragedy. This line is a warning shot, and it's being fired directly from Samira's own potential future.
Because in that one moment, we finally understand who the real ghost is. Mrs. Malek isn't being haunted. She is the haunting. She's a mirror reflecting what Samira's future could look like. She's a warning against doing nothing. And most terrifyingly of all, she represents a choice that Samira is actively making every single day. So the real horror, the true infection here, it isn't some supernatural curse. It's passivity. It's the choice to put your entire life on hold, just waiting for someone else's approval before you actually start to live. That is the ghost that's haunting this apartment.
Okay, so what is the big, powerful message this story leaves us with? It's all about realizing that sometimes our deepest fears are found by looking inward.
Ultimately, Akhtar is using the horror genre to make this profound comment on how women can be made invisible, not just by society, but by themselves. The film suggests that this loneliness, this passivity, it's almost inherited, like it's passed down from one woman to the next. And it argues that you don't have to be dead to be a ghost, you just have to stop living for yourself.
To put it as simply as possible, in this story, waiting is the haunting. It's the very act of becoming a ghost in your own life.
And that's the absolute genius of Zoya Akhtar's film. It's not interested in making you check behind the door or under the bed. No, it wants you to look in the mirror and ask a much, much scarier question. Are you living or are you just waiting?